Good morning, Apollo Baptist Church, and many others who are watching this vlog. It is Monday. It is July 12th. We had a wonderful, wonderful day of worship yesterday. God is working at Apollo Baptist Church. I am so excited. I kid you not. This is a dream come true. I am blessed beyond measure. Our reading plan at Apollo Baptist is in 1 Corinthians, and this week we are looking at 4 chapters, chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, and chapter 9. The church at Corinth was a handful, to say the least. Lots and lots of selfishness, self-focus that produced all kinds of difficulties in that ministry. We saw early on there was major factions. That's what selfishness will do. I don't care about you, I care about me. It creates a divide. In previous reading, we saw in chapter 5, inordinate, crazy kinds of immorality. Even the kinds of immorality that you don't commonly hear about even in the ungodly community, much less in the church. Paul led them to deal with that. Hopefully you read that. In chapter 6, we will see how they were not dealing with their differences and their problems. They were taking them outside the church to the courtroom and suing each other. In chapter 7, we see how obviously marriage was affected, and Paul addresses that. In chapter 8, we see how there was a faction in the church. Some of them thought it was okay to go to a pagan meat market. Pagan religions would sacrifice animals for their sacrifice, and then they would butcher part of the animal and just sell it at their local meat market. Some of the Corinthian Christians were saying, great meat, good price, let's go out and have a barbecue. Others were saying, oh no, we can't do that. And so that it was creating another major divide in their church, and they had no heart for one another. They only had a heart for doing what they wanted to do. And that always leads to major factions, major divides. In chapter 9, the Apostle Paul takes it upon himself to say, even I sacrifice. Even I don't do it just for me. Even I give up so that others can be blessed of God. One of my favorite passages in the entire book, and it really is one that God uses in my life, is in the latter part of chapter 9. And in my vlog, typically, I do something in the first chapter of our reading plan. But today I'm going to do it differently. It's at the very last of the last chapter of our reading plan. That's okay. Today is different. But this is a very precious passage to me. And so I want to share it with you. He says in chapter 9, I give up so that others may gain. That's what we're talking about. That creates oneness, creates unity. It also creates usability in the hands of God. If you and I want to be used of God, you can't have it your way. You have to do it God's way with all of your heart. Now let me read to you the passage. Do you not know? And that's a statement. You do. You do know this. Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but only one receives the prize? Run then, so that you may win. Give it all you've got. You see, a lot of people, they're Christians, and they like that, but they don't want to give it their all. They don't want to really devote their hearts to God. He says, run, so that you might win. And then he says, everyone who competes in the games exercises self-control in all things. Now, Corinth was the location of the Isthmian Games, very similar to the Olympic Games, very timely for us. The Olympic Games starts this month in Tokyo. And so he says, everyone, not some, everyone who competes in the games exercises self-control in all things. And then he says, they then do it to receive a perishable wreath. That was the crown that they would receive as an athlete if they won. They then do it to receive a perishable wreath. But we do it for the imperishable. Oh, we have a view and we have a goal that is beyond the physical, beyond the moment. It is the eternal. But we do it for the imperishable. Therefore, he says in verse 26, therefore, I run in such a way as not without aim. I have a goal, I have a purpose, and it's God. He says, I box in such a way as not beating the air. That's kind of an interesting illustration. I box in such a way as not beating the air. And then he says in verse 27, I discipline my body and make it my slave. You know, when it comes to self-control, you're going to have to tell your body no. You see, for an athlete, your body says, oh, I want to lay here in bed a little longer. And the athlete says, no, you don't. Get up and let's get with it. For an athlete, your body says, I think I want to overeat today. And the athlete says, no, you don't. We're not going to do that. That'll mess us up for winning, and so on. As a Christian, and Paul sets himself as an example. As a Christian, he says, I discipline my body. And what that word means, he says, literally, I bruise my body. Some have taken this to actually mean that harmful things to the body are good. That's not what he's saying. He's not saying treat your body in a way that is disrespectful of what God has given you. What he is saying is say no. In fact, scream no to your body. Don't let your glands be your God. Don't let your passions or your drives tell you what to do. You harness your body, and you, he says, make it your slave. He says, I discipline my body. I make it my slave. You tell it what to do. Don't let it tell you what to do. And then he says, so that after I have preached to others, I myself may not be disqualified. Disqualified was something that could happen to you as an athlete in the games. We just recently saw that. Very unfortunate. Supposedly the fastest woman in the world was slotted to be possibly the set a world record. Was found to have used marijuana, and that's against the rules in the Olympic statutes, and so she has been disqualified. As a Christian, being disqualified doesn't mean you lose your salvation. It just means you lose your effectiveness in ministry. Many a pastor have been disqualified because of moral sin. We unfortunately hear about that on a regular basis. Many pastors have been disqualified because of financial sin, misuse of money. Paul is saying, I discipline my body. I don't let it tell me what to do. I tell it what to do. I make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself might not be disqualified. Let's finish well. And God will help us do that because that's His desire. Get your heart in the book and let God feed you on His Word. Love you.